Almost everything a living thing does is aimed at staying alive, finding food, avoiding danger, having young. The logic of life is survival. And then humans did something that breaks that rule entirely. At some point in our deep past, a group of humans stood over one of their own who had died. And instead of simply walking away, as nearly every other animal on Earth does, they did something extraordinary. They dug. They placed the body carefully into the ground, and they covered it. That single act, burying the dead, is one of the most distinctly human things we have ever done. No other primate is known to do it in anything like the same deliberate, repeated way. And it raises a question that sits right at the edge of what it means to be a person. Why would a creature fighting to survive spend precious time and effort on someone who could no longer be saved? Why bury the dead at all? Start with how strange this is in the animal world. Many animals notice death. Elephants pause over the bones of their own. Some apes carry or guard a dead infant for days. Animals are not blind to it, but noticing death is not the same as doing something deliberate about it. Digging a grave, choosing a place, returning a body to the earth on purpose. That deliberate act, as far as we can tell, is ours. And for a long time, scientists treated it as a bright line, proof of something uniquely human. To bury your dead, the thinking went, you need more than instinct. You need to understand that death is permanent. You need to feel the loss. You possibly need to imagine something beyond the body. Burial wasn't just hygiene. It looked like the first evidence of a mind that could think symbolically, a mind like ours. For decades, the oldest widely accepted burials we knew of pointed to two kinds of human, our own species and the Neanderthals. In caves in the Middle East, archaeologists found bodies that appear to have been deliberately laid to rest, placed in graves, sometimes curled in their sides, tens of thousands of years ago. Some of the oldest reasonably accepted examples are around 100,000 years old. Both early modern humans and Neanderthals appear to have done it. That alone was a quiet bombshell, because it meant we were not the only humans who buried our dead. The Neanderthals, long dismissed as brutish, may have stood over their own losses and chosen to bury them too. Though even this is debated, some once accepted Neanderthal burials have been re-examined and questioned, because proving intention in something so ancient is genuinely hard. And then, not far from here, came a discovery that threw the whole story into doubt. In a cave system called Rising Star, just outside Johannesburg, South Africa, researchers had found the remains of a previously unknown human relative, a small creature, a little over a meter tall, with a brain only about a third the size of ours. They named it Homo naledi. What made the find astonishing was where the bones were, deep inside the cave, down narrow passages and difficult chutes, in chambers that show no sign anyone ever lived in them. And in 2023, a team led by the paleoanthropologist Lee Berger made a claim that stunned the field, that Homo naledi may have intentionally placed their dead deep inside the cave system, and that some of the patterns there could be consistent with deliberate burial, possibly more than 200,000 years ago. This is the claim, and it is highly contested. If it were true, it would push deliberate burial back by 100,000 years or more. And, more shocking still, it would mean a small-brained creature, nothing like us, was doing the very thing we thought required a mind like ours. Now, be careful here, because this is not settled science. It is a live, fierce argument. Many experts are not convinced. They point out how hard it is to prove a burial was intentional, rather than bodies that washed in, fell in, or were placed without the deeper meaning we are tempted to read into it. When the claim was published, the response from other researchers was sharply critical. Several independent teams argued the evidence simply wasn't strong enough to show intentional burial. The honest status of the Homo naledi burials is not confirmed. It is extraordinary claim still being fought over. But even as a possibility, it is enough to crack open the old assumption that burial belongs to big-brained humans alone. So set aside exactly who was first and return to the harder question. Because once you strip away the drama of discovery, you're left with something harder to answer than who did it first. Why do it at all? Here the theories split. The first is the unsentimental one. Practical necessity. A dead body attracts predators and scavengers. It spreads disease, it smells. Putting it in the ground solves all of that at once. In this view, burial began as simple housekeeping, a way to protect the living from the dead, with no deeper meaning required. It is the explanation that needs the least from the mind. The second is the opposite, and it is the one that feels human. Grief, meaning, ritual. In this view, burial is the physical shape of an emotion. You bury someone because you cannot stand to simply abandon them, because they mattered, because some part of you grasps that this is final and wants to mark it, to do one last thing for a person you have lost. This is the version where burial is the first faint signal of the things that would later become religion, ceremony, the whole human relationship with death and what might lie beyond it. Not housekeeping, love and loss and meaning. And there is a third idea, more recent and more surprising, that burial may have been partly about the living and about territory. A newer and more controversial idea comes from the archaeologists Ella Bean and Omri Barzilai, working in the Levant, the region around modern Israel where Neanderthals and our species overlapped. They suggest ceremonial burial may have intensified as the two kinds of human competed for the same ground, because a grave is also a claim. It says, our people are here. This ground is ours. Our dead are in it. In this reading, the dead were used, in part, to anchor the living to a place, to mark belonging in a contested landscape. They point out that in that region, the careful burials appear to fade after the Neanderthal neighbors vanished, as if the need to plant that kind of flag faded with the competition. It's a provocative idea, but a speculative one, and other archaeologists caution that you have to be careful building a grand trend out of just a few overlapping sites on the map. So, which is it? Hygiene? Grief? Belonging? As with so much in this story, the most honest answer is that it may never have been one thing. Burial could have started as something practical, getting a body out of the way, and then, in a creature capable of feeling, slowly filled up with meaning. The act stayed the same. What it meant to the ones doing it deepened until a grave was no longer about the dead at all, but about everything the living felt toward them. Step back and look at what this really tells us. We have spent this whole channel circling one uncomfortable idea, that the things we think make us special keep turning out to be less unique than we assumed. And burial may be the deepest example yet. We told ourselves that caring for our dead was a line only the human mind could cross. Now, a small-brained cousin in a cave outside Johannesburg may be quietly telling us we were wrong about that too. Maybe the urge not to simply walk away from our dead is older than our species, older than our big brains. Maybe it is one of the oldest shared instincts in the human story.